All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Green Nutrition. Welcome back. Welcome back. Um, my name is Michelle, as you can see. And I am a future registered dietitian. Eventually I'll get there. I just graduated recently and now I'm studying for my RD exam. And I wanted to kind of hold myself accountable in my studies. And I wanted to start creating some YouTube videos. That way I can kind of just like review what I'm getting wrong and hopefully someone out there, some fellow students or future dietitians or maybe even current dietitians could help me out in studying for this exam. So if you're watching this, you probably are either really interested in nutrition or you are also someone that is trying to be an RD and trying to sit for the RD exam. Now, if you are the latter, you probably already know that there are four domains, and the first domain is the principles of dietetics. And now this is going to be however many parts my heart's desires. I'm trying to do this in the least stressful way as possible, but I do want to kind of come up with like I guess a little video series on my studies, my review process and everything. So this is not going to completely review all the different topics. But it is going to go through each of the different categories that are in the domain, and it's going to kind of discuss what my mistakes are, my personal mistake notebook, if you will, and kind of talk it out, I guess, to whoever will listen. So let's get started. So this part is going to include food science, some basic food science principles, educational theories, statistics, related to dietetics, and normal nutrition. So nutrition in a state where they aren't like, I don't know, diabetes or something. I don't know. All right, so now let's begin with a review of food science and the supporting sciences. All right, so fruits and vegetables. Now, everybody knows what a fruit is, everybody knows what a vegetable is, but it's 75 to 93% water. They have carbs, obviously. Um, Digestible and indigestible fiber. There's some minerals, vitamin C, A, some B. And this is something that I forgot. Crispness is due to the osmotic pressure of water. So it's like the filled vacuoles within the fruit, and vegetable, which I was like, ah, I completely forgot about that. Another thing that I forgot about, because I haven't thought about like food from a like a food science perspective in so long is that there are different types of fruits in terms of climacteric and non-climacteric fruits. So what does this mean? So climacteric fruits ripen post-harvest. So it's not the end of the world if you harvest it a little early. That's why the tomatoes, like when you're growing tomatoes at home, like I am, when you pluck it off while it's still green, you can let it sit on the counter and it'll still ripen. And you can harvest certain things early in order to prevent the birds and critters from getting to it before you can. And then there's non-climacteric fruits. So things that won't ripen off the vine, that you have to let it ripen on before harvest. So things like watermelon, like you don't want to harvest that too early or else you're not gonna have good fruit, I guess. And there's also acid and alkaline reactions, and that can affect color and or texture of many vegetables. So the acid quickens the softening process of vegetables and texture, and it may cause it to become mushy. Alkalinity may cause nutrient loss, and bitter flavor. And then just to review like the kind of pigments, because those are pretty important. You got the green chlorophyll. I mean, you learned that in third grade. But it's insoluble in water, which you might not learn in third grade. I don't remember learning it, but maybe you did. And then olive green and acid, and that's called pheophytin. I don't know if I said that right, but that's how it's written, and so that's how I'll say it. Um, and bright green and alkaline, and that is called chlorophyllin. And then you have yellow orange, that's the carotenoids, that's insoluble in water, little effect in acid or alkaline. It's also known as the lycopenes, and that's an antioxidant and a phytochemical. And then you got the flavonoids. So red, blue, purple. That's anthocyanins. Soluble, that's soluble in water, bright red in acid, bluish in alkaline. And then the colorless are white to yellow. That's anthocyanins or flavones, and that's soluble in water, colorless in acid, um, and yellow in alkaline. All right, so the when you add baking soda to something that's green, it interacts with the chlorophyll and it actually enhances the green color rather than dulls it. And the addition of baking soda usually does not result in a salty taste, but it can destroy the water-soluble vitamins, which is interesting. So I guess if you really want something bright green, you gotta just remember you're losing some vitamins. And then it also has a softening effect, which can make them mushy. So I guess if you want to feed someone that is having some difficulty chewing, maybe that'll be a good strat. And blanching slows or stops the enzyme action, excuse me. And enzymes help vegetables grow and mature. But once it's already mature, these enzymes can cause a loss of quality, flavor, color, texture, and nutrients. So if you harvest something and it's real ripe, you want to stop that enzymatic reaction immediately. All right, now let's take a look at my mistake notebook. Now, once again, this is mine, and I just want to add a disclaimer. I This is based off of some like I was quizzing myself. These are some based off of some pre-tests that I was doing, and um, I want to just say I did not study beforehand, and I was distracted while I was doing it. Okay, so now let's get started. Let's review. So, a number 10 can holds 13 cups of product. I just, I think I've had this memorized at some point. I no longer have it memorized. So that's something that I really need to kind of lock in and really put that into my heart for this RD exam. Um, and then next, to minimize strong flavor development, cabbage should be cooked in a large quantity of water. I believe the other option that I chose was a small quantity of water, and I was able to kind of like go through and eliminate some of the some of the answers that were like I guess it was there to kind of throw you off, but instead of doing large, I did small, which I guess makes sense because if you're boiling the cabbage, then maybe like the flavor's leaching into the water because you are losing some of the vitamins. So maybe like that's it. I don't know. Leave it in the comments if you know the reason why. Um, the cabbage becomes less strong. And then grade for fresh produce is US number one. Um, I just didn't know this. I couldn't tell you. So that's why it's in my mistake notebook. I gotta remember the grades. The next is broccoli in a vegetable mixture turns olive green during holding due to lemon juice. Now, I think I chose like there were two different colors of green, and I chose the other color of green, like the other shade. But it's olive green, which I guess if it makes sense. I think it's just the chemical reaction. So. Yeah, I think that's just it. And then this green beans cooked in tomato sauce turn olive green due to phytophytin. So I guess if we go back to before, that's what I was saying earlier about the olive green and acid and alkaline. That must be the tomato sauce, and so that's why. Oh, no, it's still an acid. Oh no, tomato is acidic. All right, guys, scratch that. See, I'm learning as I'm talking. And this is another reason why I want to make YouTube videos. Okay. So, why you're cooking green beans and tomato sauce beats me. I've never had it before, but I do like green beans, so maybe it'll be pretty good. Maybe I'll try that. All right, now let's move on to meat, poultry, fish, and meat alternatives. I don't have much on meat alternatives in here because, quite frankly, I don't think there's going to be much on it. And I didn't get any questions when I was like trying to find, oh my God, when I was trying to find review questions, I didn't really have any. So that's that. All right, so I have not memorized the safe minimum internal temperatures. I memorized it when I was taking my food service exam and I memorized it. It's just completely beats me. I like whenever I have multiple choice questions on this, I always just spam 145. I have no idea why. It's something that I'm aware of. It should probably be in my mistake notebook, but that's my thing. So 145, I guess it looks like it's mainly the red meats, pork, beef, veal, lamb, steaks, roast fish. And I guess if I'm trying to remember, if I'm trying to remember for the exam, and if you're trying to remember for the exam, you could always think about how like these, besides maybe besides the fish, but a lot of these and the pork. No, you can eat pork medium rare. Like think about like I don't know, when you go to a fancy restaurant, a lot of these like have to be pink in the middle, so I guess that's the lowest safe minimum internal temperature. That makes sense, right? And then we got ground beef, ground veal, ground lamb 160. Makes sense. I the ground has to be higher because it's probably because like it's more prone to bacteria or something. And then 165 for turkey, chicken, and duck. So I guess I've always had the 145, 160, 165. I've always had that in my head, but I always second guess myself in the exam. So thinking of it now, I think what I'll do is like in my head, and maybe this will help you remember it, um, is think, okay, 145 medium rare. What can be eaten medium rare? I guess you could have a medium rare salmon if you want, but like that's gonna be my thought. The next ground, anything ground, ugh, 160. Immediately turn that heat up. And then 165. I'm afraid of salmonella, so I'm gonna cook that turkey, chicken, and duck until 165. All right. Now, my mistake notebook. Honestly, I think food service has the biggest mistake notebook because it's not my strong suit. Um, or not food service, excuse me, food science. Although I do enjoy it. I don't know, I just can't, it just doesn't stick. So examples of moist heat cooking include braising and stewing. I think I chose braising and frying. And I think when I was taking the exam, my mindset was, well, you fry in a liquid, so it's moist. But I do believe the actual definition of moist heat is involving water, not just liquid. And that was my mistake, was that I was thinking liquid instead of water. Dry heat cookery. I'm not sure if that's how I wanted to spell it, but hey. Heat cookery should be used for which cut of meat? And then the answer is near the backbone. Um, I don't get why. If anyone in the comments knows why, please leave it down below. It might help me or someone else. In understanding the answer to that question, why it's that answer. Um, and then which cooking method would best convert collagen to gelatin in a bottom round roast? And the answer is searing, which I guess makes sense. Like you always like sear your roast before you cook it. Um, I don't remember what I chose instead of searing, but I think searing sounds right. I guess I should really just sit there and really let the question marinate before I start clicking answers, huh? All right, so next, beef bottom round should be cooked in water for an extended time. I think I chose like I think the answer choices like varied the different medium in which it was cooked. And I don't remember what I chose, but it definitely wasn't that. All right. And then the best way to cook a roast is to cook slowly in the oven at 325. I think I put like sear it then cook it. Um, which I guess I wonder if a bottom round roast is different from a roast. I'm not a meat gal, so like I do eat meat, but I don't really care for how it's cooked as long as it's cooked. So maybe I just have to become interested in steak. All right, so eggs. I don't have much on eggs in terms of reviewing. I think I'm pretty set on eggs besides these two things. And so an acid stiffens an egg white foam by tenderizing the protein and allowing it to extend more easily. Egg whites at room temperature whip more quickly and yield a larger volume due to lower surface tension. And then I didn't make another slide for this mistake notebook because it was just one mistake. And my one mistake was that to stabilize the egg in the recipe, you add an acid, and I think I chose sugar. Um, why? I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. Um, I don't know my logic in that. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to milk and milk products. Now, let's see. So milk, um, I've seen a lot of varying like percentages online and even in my notes from back when I was taking for food science. So these are the ranges, like the breakdown. I don't know why I have casein next to the 80%. Not wasn't supposed to be there. Um, I think the 80%. Oh, I see. So 44.9 to 8.5% other, and then it's 80% casein, the other percent's whey. There we go. I do believe that's for whole milk. But please, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. And my mistake notebook, I decided to include it on here because the slide looked a little sad without it. So, the first one is rice milk has the highest carbohydrate content per serving, followed by soy milk, coconut milk, and almond milk. And I think I chose soy milk, because I had narrowed it down between rice milk and soy milk. But I guess it makes sense that rice milk has more carbohydrates because you would really think that soy would have maybe it's the protein that's making the rice milk higher because I feel like you think about soybeans as a protein source. So I don't know, maybe that'll help me remember it. Um, and then this one, when you check for overrun, you are checking the weight of the ice cream. Um, and I think the issue was I knew overrun had to do with ice cream. I just didn't know what it was, like how to check it. So that that was my problem. And that's the answer. And now I know. And then next, if you replace half and half with whipping cream and ice cream, the effects a decrease in size because there is more fat. Now, why we are replacing half and half with whipping cream and ice cream, I have no clue. But I think it was like it was a different option for sizing. Um and I it just wasn't clicking that that's what I think it's like the application was not clicking for me at that time. Next, when substituting buttermilk for whole milk in pastry, increase the baking soda. And I think the issue was I didn't know what to do. I'm not a good baker. I am never been a baker, and I don't think I ever will. Um, so I didn't have any real life application in terms of what to do. And yeah, that's what to do. And then the least amount of saturated fat, is evaporated skim milk. And I think there was like another option, like another evaporated option, and I chose that one instead. So now I know the skim, evaporated and skim. That's what it is. And then aseptically packaged milk should be stored in dry storage. And I don't remember what the choices were and what I chose, but that's the answer. Oops. Okay. All right, so now let's talk flour, grains, and cereals. And I think this one's gonna have like the biggest mistake notebook, because I'm not a good bread person. Um, or I should say I'm not a good bread baker. So I was having a little bit of trouble with this section. Now, different types of flours. So bread flour has strong gluten, it's 11.8% protein, and cake is the least and the weakest gluten, more starch, 7.5% protein. Now, adding bran decreases the volume of the end product, and alkaline water creates more elastic dough when added to flour. And then quick breads, they only use egg and flour. Excess mixing loss of carbon dioxide is due to overdeveloped gluten. And then tunnels from top to bottom leads to a tough and heavy product. All right, let's go to my mistake notebook. It's a doozy, I'll tell you. Okay. So if a cake has a crunchy crust and compact moist texture, you want to adjust the sugar. I think I put butter. But reading it now, like reading it with the answer, it makes sense that it's sugar. I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. Continuous commercial method of bread making is not as dependent on the length of time the dough sits to rise, which I guess makes sense because if you're like in a commercial kitchen, you don't really want to sit around, like you don't want your employees to sit around waiting for the dough to rise. Um, a cake with a falling center may be the result of excess sugar and excess fat, which I don't remember what I put. Um, but that is the answer. When adding bran to a flour mixture, increase flour and liquid. Sorry, when adding bran to a flour mixture, increase flour and liquid. This will decrease the volume. And I think I just didn't know what to do, so this is why it's in my mistake. And then angel food cake made without cream of tartar makes it yellow. And I thought there was one that there's an option that said it made it white, and I have cream of tartar in my house, and it looks white, so I was like, maybe it makes it white, but it makes it yellow because I think the cream of tartar is yes, that's one of the next ones. It pre prevents. Oh, it says presents. It's supposed to say prevent, but it prevents the Maillard browning reaction. So I guess that makes sense because you don't want it to be yellow. And or do you want it to be yellow angel food cake? I don't know, but if you don't want it to be yellow, you would want to add the cream of tartar because it prevents the Maillard reaction, therefore preventing it from becoming yellow. And then egg and flour gives structure to quick breads. I kind of skipped around with that one. Flour with the most starch is cake. I think I put bread, but it's the least, I think. Let's go back. Oh. Um, Homemade rolls are crumbly and fall apart easily, most likely because of the poor texture in the yeast bread is use of lower protein flour. I don't make rolls at home, so I wasn't sure what that was. And then commercial muffin mix described as a rich formula means it has high proportions of sugar and shortening. And I guess that makes sense, like it's rich. Like it's high in sugar, high in shortening or fat. Like it's rich. So I can think of it like that. Okay. All right. So now we are out of the woods in terms of my food science. We are going to move on to the composition of food. Now, I don't have much in this section because a lot of it was things that I already knew. And so I didn't have to create like a mistake notebook or a studying thing. But there were some things that I would sometimes really get tripped up on, and I really want to hone it in. So I added this. Now, prebiotic, it's a non-digestible food ingredient that supports growth of probiotics. Fibers are considered a prebiotic, typically oligosaccharic, and inulin, and it's fermented in the colon through bacteria. Now, a probiotic those are the live microbial food ingredients that benefit health, promotes the health microbial balance in the intestine, and may stimulate activity of immune cells and reduce gut inflammation. Now, I've been in school for nutrition for so long. Obviously, I know what a probiotic and a prebiotic is, but I kept forgetting where the action was, like where it was. And so the prebiotic, that's the one that's in the colon, and then the probiotic, that's the gut. That's like all the TikToks you see, oh my gut health, the gut stuff. Like that's what they're talking about. All right. And now the different like definitions of foods, like the different categories of food that I wasn't even thinking of. Like I've come like you learn it in entry level nutrition and then you kind of don't really talk about it ever again. So, functional food provides more functions than just basic nutritional benefits. Um, Conventional foods or whole foods. For so an example of this one. Grape juice and red wine have resveratrol, which reduces platelet aggregation. So that's a convention. Modified or fortified, enriched, enhanced, that anything that's like modified to do something for your body. So fermented dairy products have probiotics which support GI health. It's modifying you. Um, and medical foods just basically like a formula for infants that have PKU, something like that. Um, like anything that's like special dietary, gluten-free, all that stuff. And then the phytochemicals or phytonutrients, these are what are called designer foods. And I had never heard of the term designer foods until they mentioned it in class and was like, yeah, everybody talks about it. And I was like, who's everybody? I've never heard of that a day in my life, but it's all the same thing. And it's basically biologically active, naturally occurring chemical compounds in plant foods that act as a natural defense for the plant. All right, now let's move on to labeling and packaging claims. These are just things that I had on like a lot of the practice exams that I was doing, and I did get most of it right. Um, but I really need to memorize the actual specific like numbers that are involved in it. And then I just have one thing from my mistakes notebook for this one. Um, and if something says that evidence suggests but does not prove that, for example, roses are red, that is a qualified health claim. So if that's on the label, that's the claim. That's the type of claim. Now let's get down to the business of educational theories. Now this is the bane of like I always get confused on these educational theories. I don't know why I can't like it's hard to identify it for me. So there's cognitive, which is the acquisition of knowledge or subject matter. So factual information, that's the facts. Affective, which is the acquisition of attitudes and values, growth and feelings or emotions, or psychomotor. Um, that's the acquisition of muscular skills, exercises, and food prep. So that's like categorizing. I really need to focus and learn that one. And this is something I'm sure I was taught this, but it like I saw it and I was like, oh, this is not really that familiar. So I just wanted to put that in here. That way I know, hey, like I need to really memorize this, or not memorize it, but really understand it. But one of the principles of andragogy is that adults need to be involved in the planning and learning of and the teacher facilitates the learning and assists with identifying reinforcements. And I don't know, like it seems like common sense, but like I don't know, it's just not clicking to me. And then types of research. Now, full disclaimer, research and statistics are the only thing that's preventing me from wanting to go back and get my doctorate because for the life of me, I can never identify I don't know, like my confidence is not there. Um so this is gonna have a lot of mistakes. So let's talk descriptive versus an analytical. So descriptive research describes the state of nature at a point in time. It generates hypotheses regarding determinants of a condition or disease and provides baseline data and monitors changes over time. It establishes associations among factors but does not allow causal relationships to be determined. Ver versus analytical research, that tests the hypothesis concerning the effects of specific factors of interest that and allows causal associations to be determined. So this can prove cause and effect, and the other one can't. And I guess descriptive. is basically someone yapping, and then analytical is them actually doing. Um, please, by all means, let me know in the comments if that's wrong. But that's how I'm kind of getting it. Um, and that's that. So now let's look at my mistake notebook. So attrition. I don't remember what I put, but I got it wrong. So this is why I included it. So attrition occurs when participants drop out of a longitudinal study over time. If certain classes of study participants drop out at a higher rate than other participants types, this attrition may result in bias that potentially affects the internal and external validity of a longitudinal study. And then cluster sampling is used to randomly select participants for a study when the overall list of potential subjects is very large. Dispersion measures the extent of variations, amount, numerical data. Bootstrapping is a method for ensuring statistical accuracy. All right. Statistics. I just don't like numbers, I think. And so that's my problem. But I need to calm down like this guy's telling me in the corner because it's not that bad. I just need to lock in. So let's discuss. So a mean is the average total it all, and then divide by the number of data points that you have. Now, I learned this in elementary school. So I when I was trying to calculate the mean, I was adding all of it up, and then I don't know what I was dividing by, but I was not getting I was not getting the numbers that were on that multiple choice. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? So I had to look up the formula, and then finally I got it. Median is obviously the midpoint. Like the way that my elementary school teacher taught me is like median is middle, and then mode is the most. And so I don't know if that's the statistical definition of it, but that's how I learned it, and that's how it makes sense to me. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Now, p-value. P-values are like they kill me, but basically the way I see it is p less than or equal to zero point zero 0.05 is significant difference. Results are reliable. But if it's more than 0.05, then no bueno that the the difference is trash, basically. And then for my mistake notebook, the level of significance of test results is measured by using the p-value most significant is 0.0002 or less. So that's that. And then interpreting correlation data, if the R value is greater than 1, the result is not valid. Oh, okay. Now we're out of there. Now let's do normal nutrition. I love normal nutrition. Um, energy calculations. Um, if you don't know that, I don't know. But I figured I might as well include it. Because why not? Although I like when before I started recording this video, I was going through my slides and like reviewing it, and I accidentally put 4 kcals per calorie for alcohol. And I was like, dude, I'm tired. I need a nap. Anyways, so let's talk energy. So the highest BMR is at 0 to 2 years of age because you're doing all that growing. You need all that calorie. And then in my mistake notebook, okay, this one was a silly, goofy mistake, but I understand where I was thinking, and then I understand the question now. I misunderstood the question, so let me just get into it. So the question is, in starvation, the brain uses which nutrient as an energy source? And I chose glucose. And hear me out. So your brain, like, they mainly want to use glucose. Like, that's the only thing. And so in my head, I was like, well, like, they only want to use glucose, so glucose. But it's in starvation. Like, they don't have any glucose left. So that's why the answer is ketone bodies and not glucose, like I was thinking. Um, and then it's ketone bodies. So that's that. And then when energy needs increase, you need more thiamine, niacin, riboflavin, and pantothenic acid. And I don't remember what I chose, but it wasn't that. All right, so let's talk carbs. So we have monosaccharides, glucose, fructose, galactose, disaccharides, which are sucrose, which is glucose plus fructose, lactose, which is glucose and galactose, and maltose, which is glucose and glucose. And then polygosaccharides, or sorry, not polygosaccharides, polysaccharides, that's complex carbs. So, in the order of sweetness, you have fructose, invert sugar, sucrose, glucose, sorbitol, mannitol, galactose, and maltose and lactose. Mistake notebook. Not too much. Not too much. I don't know why cake's in here. I should have put it in with the breads and cakes, but it's here. Oh, I think it's 'cause sugar. Okay. Well, anyways, lactose is absorbed in the small intestine. I don't remember where I put it. Like I don't remember where I put that it was absorbed, but it's in the small intestine. It's not wherever I put. Sorbitol is m absorbed more slowly than glucose. I think I put the opposite. I'm not sure. Um, a cake with a fallen center may be the result of excess sugar and excess fat. I believe that was in the last mistake, like the last part, but just in case, just gotta hammer it in. And then sugar tenderizes a baked good by absorbing some of the water that gluten needs. Sorry. I don't know what I put, but it wasn't that. And then fructose is sweeter than glucose. That was, mind you, that was before I like really locked in and studied, so that's why it's in my mistake notebook. Protein. All right. So, oops. Essential amino acids. Threonine. I don't know if that's how you say it. Valine, tryptophan, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, phenylalanine, methionine, and histidine. Those are the essentials. Um, and that's all I have for just review. But I have a lot of mistakes. So if the sole source of protein is gelatin, growth is inhibited because gelatin has no tryptophan and is low in methionine and lysine. Now, I'm not sure in what scenario your only source of protein would be gelatin, but I don't think that's the point. I think the point is to understand that gelatin has no tryptophan, and is low in methionine and lysine, and that you need that for growth. So that I got that question wrong. Um, Protein digestion begins in the stomach. Oh, okay. So here was my okay. I understand what the question that was asking now. It was asking like where, so it was asking where protein digestion began. And I put it began in the mouth, but the answer is it begins in the stomach. And the reason why I said that it put in the mouth, and this is my justification, is because you're chewing. And technically, is mastification not the start of digestion? And so that's what I put. However, the website that I was using at the time to kind of figure that out, they said the answer was in the stomach. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess like the chemical digestion that starts in the stomach. But my thing was like, oh, the physical act of digestion, like mastification, that begins in the mouth and everything is chewed. So yeah, that was my thought. But I do understand that that was what it was asking. It wasn't asking what I thought. Anyways, I'm not sure why tryptophan, phenylalanine, threonine, and isoleucine is listed, but if anyone can figure out in the comments why I listed that, what all four of those have in common, please let me know. The next is if protein intake is doubled, peroxidity needs to be increased. Now, I just didn't know that. It just wasn't clicking. The next one is 56 grams of protein is the RDA for males beginning at 19. And I think I put 16. I don't know why I put 16, but it's 19. And then alanine, oh, did not spell that right, but that's okay, is especially glucogenic. Did not know that. And then the rate of oxidation of which leucine increases significantly during moderate exercise. And I think the it was like choose the amino acid um that increases significantly, and I did not choose leucine, but it is leucine. And I wonder why that is. It must be like a pathway or something like that. If anyone knows why that is, please leave it in the comments. All right, and so our final one for this part is going to be on fat. And so this is going to be a little bit about like the actual fat and then like oil, like cooking. So we'll just dive right in. So safflower is actually the most polyunsaturated, and canola is the most saturated. Then you have the linoleic acid, omega-6. That lack of omega-6 creates eczema, poor growth rate, petechiae, and the best source is safflower. And then alpha linolenic acid, that's the omega-3, that helps with retinol function and brain development. Let's talk about my mistakes. Um, oh, this first one, I second guessed myself. I had that originally. That's a problem that I have is that I second guess myself. So now, this is here to shame myself into remembering. So fat produces more calories than carbohydrate because fat has more carbon and hydrogen in relation to oxygen. The way that I was taught is that it's can go through the cycle more because there's more carbon, like there's just more of it. Like if you think about it, like the different molecules, like there's clearly a lot more in fat than there is in carbohydrates, so it can go through the cycle more and therefore produce more energy. And I guess that's basically what this is saying too, because it has more carbon and hydrogen. Therefore, it can go through the cycle more and therefore it produces more calories. Um, aka energy. But yeah, that was my shameful mistake. Um, and then 425 degrees Fahrenheit is the best for frying based on most smoke points. And I think I put like 325 instead of 425. So that's why I'm wrong. Winterized oil is clear when refrigerated. I completely forgot like when the concept of winterized oil even existed. So that's why that was wrong. Um, I chose it wrong. Coconut has the least amount of monounsaturated fats. I think uh, I don't remember what I chose for that, but that's the answer. And then fats high in monounsaturated fatty acids include olive and canola. Did not know that, but now I do. Soybean oil is most susceptible to oxidative free acidity of olive, butter, and coconut oil. And I think I chose olive because I was thinking about how like you have to store olive oil in uh like an opaque jar because it's gonna get like it's gonna go off. But it's actually soybean oil. Um, the next butter has fatty acids in order of predominance, saturated, MUFA, and then PUFA. And honestly, looking at this now, I think it must have been the PUFA and the MUFA that was switched in the answer that I chose because there's no way in hell that I would think that saturated was anything but the first one in terms of the order of fatty acids and butter. Um, and then next, margarine has fatty acids in this order of predominance, and I didn't put what it was. So I guess I'll just keep myself in suspense until I find it. Let's see if I can find it in within a couple of minutes. I don't know why I didn't put that on there. So let's see. Mufa, Ufa. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Ah, there we go. So margarine has fatty acids in this order of predominance. The answer is PUFA, MUFA, and SAT. And I put MUFA, PUFA, and SAT when it's supposed to be PUFA, MUFA, and SAT. So there you go. All right. And I just decided to add this add this meme. Sometimes I say IDK and be knowing. Like sometimes I say I don't know and be knowing because it's true. Like I think that whenever I see an exam, whenever I think about having to sit for a test, I second guess myself. I think I don't know things, but I do know things. And I'm sure you, the viewer, know things too. And I think we need to be less hard on ourselves when we're doing exams, and we need to take a deep breath and just say, like, you know what? I've studied as much as I can, and I know this, and I'm gonna do the dang thing. And I hope to all my viewers that are watching, I wish you all good luck on any exam, regardless of if it's the RD exam. Good luck on your exams and your future academic endeavors because we got this. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment if this was helpful. I hope it was. And leave a comment for any questions. I look forward to hearing from you guys. And feel free to join me for the next one. Thanks for watching.